me now please introduce to you Jennifer Evans. Jennifer is the VP for Constellation Ventures. Constellation, obviously, with a lot of different M&A activity over the last couple of years. Jennifer has a perspective of having worked at Constellation a lot of different ways, and she took over the venture business last year. And please welcome with me Jennifer Evans.
Thank you. Thanks. It's nice to see all of you. Thanks for coming today. What I thought I'd do is just share a little bit about Constellation Ventures, what we do, how we think about investments, and how our investment philosophy has been changing. So you can see our portfolio, our model. We are a minority strategic investor, which means we provide capital, but we also really partner with our portfolio companies. So we meet with them, we figure out where they are in their life cycle, and it'll be everything from developing really detailed commercial plans to brand strategy, brand positioning, package redesign, route to market, figuring out which markets they should expand into, and prioritization. So we really do partner with our companies. It's between us and them to drive their businesses forward. And so last year, we announced an increased focus on female-founded and female-led businesses. So we pledged to invest $100 million in female-led and female-founded businesses over the next 10 years. We've gotten a really great response from that. And I was asked to talk a little bit today about why we did that, why we think that's an important thing to do. So just to set the stage, you can see over the last 10 years, the landscape has changed pretty dramatically. In the 70s, there were just under 9 million independently owned businesses in the US. Less than 5% of them were owned by women. Fast forward to last year, there are just over 30 million businesses, independently owned businesses in the US, 40% of which are owned by women. So now, not only have you seen just a tremendous explosion in independently owned businesses, but 4 out of 10 are owned by women. So it's a huge, huge opportunity. And on the next slide, if you look at how they're performing, you actually see that women-owned businesses are performing exceptionally well. So this, on the left-hand side, you can see over the last 10 years, these are companies that have generated over $1 million in revenue. For the women-owned businesses that are generating $1 million or more in revenue, they've grown by 46% versus the general number of companies in that field that have grown by 12%. In terms of employment rate, women-owned businesses in this category have increased employment by 30% over the last 10 years versus actually overall it's slightly negative. And then finally, if you look at just absolute revenue generation, women-owned businesses have increased absolute revenue generated by 45% over the last 10 years. So not only has the number of women-owned businesses just skyrocketed, they're doing extremely well. But what we found is just 2% of women-owned businesses receive just 2% of the venture capital that's out there today. But studies do show that they generate more than 2 times the revenue per dollar invested. So a huge opportunity, and one that you can't ignore. So at Constellation Ventures, we do have an increased focus on finding really incredible female-founded businesses to invest in. And so I thought then, just broadly speaking, I would just back up and talk about our portfolio in general and how we think about female and non-female-led businesses. What we're looking for in terms of investments we make, we are looking for large market opportunities. We're looking for brands that can really scale beyond their home markets. We're looking for brands that are differentiated. We talked a little bit about this on the panel. There are so many brands out there these days, and so it really has to be a brand that is truly differentiated, truly unique. There needs to be exceptional quality. That is table stakes, just fantastic liquid, great packaging. There needs to be clear consumer pull. We get a lot of founders coming to us with fantastic ideas, but it's just so early. We really want to see time in market to show that there's sustained consumer demand for that brand. We're looking for outstanding management. And of course, this is, again, table stakes. But you cannot underestimate how important it is to have a management team that has the vision and the ability to really drive their brand and achieve the objectives they've set out. And it's not on here, but included and embedded in this is also fit. And this is very subjective. I think finding an investor and a portfolio company relationship where the fit between both parties works, that's so incredibly important because it is a partnership. And then finally, fit within Constellation portfolio. Similar to some of the comments that have been said, we're looking for brands that can really augment Constellation's portfolio at large. So Nelson's Greenbrier is a great example of how our strategy comes to life. So we invested in Nelson's about 3 years ago. It's a fantastic distillery down in Tennessee. And over the years, the last 3 years, we've partnered with them, really started to grow the brand. We see a lot of potential. And then very recently, we announced that we increased our minority stake into a majority stake. So just kind of an example of how brands can move through our process. And then finally, I thought I would wrap up on the last slide with just some pointers from my perspective of what's really critical when you come to pitch. Every pitch is different, and it should be because they are individual founders that are pitching them. But in my mind, I think you do have to have these 4 elements. So the first is really knowing your category. A lot of folks come with a really good sense of their brand and their story, but not really a good holistic view of the category in which they're playing. So really understanding what's going on with consumers in that category, who the competitors are, large and small, what they're doing, and then how you and your brand fit within that. It's knowing your story, which is, again, what makes you different and differentiated in this entire sea, very, very crowded ocean. It's knowing your audience. Investors are looking for very different things. So if you're talking to a strategic, knowing what their portfolio looks like, knowing what their broader portfolio looks like, and also who they've invested in historically, to really see where you would fit in and how you can pitch yourself into fitting that audience. And then finally, it's having a plan, which sounds really simple, but I see a lot of pitches that show companies tripling their business for 10 years in a row. And that does actually hurt your credibility if there isn't a clear plan there. So what I like to see, I do see businesses that say, I'm going to grow by X% every year. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here are the markets I'm in today. Here are the markets I'm going to expand into. Here's how I'm going to activate this. That goes a long way to establish credibility and make the investor feel like it could be a good investment. So that's what I got.
Great. Thanks so much, Jen.